Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. This is Our Take. We are your hosts. My name's Ocean.
I'm Taylor.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, we got a Netflix special for you. We're going to do our reaction or our take to The Pale Blue Eye on Netflix, starring Christian Bale, Harry Melling, Gillian Anderson, Lucy Ronton, Robert Duvall, Toby Jones, and what was the last person?
Timothy Spall.
Timothy Spall. And this movie came out on January 6th in select theaters as well as on, obviously, Netflix's streaming platform. So yeah, we'll do this in traditional fashion. We'll talk about it spoiler-free. We'll do some spoilers, and then we'll dive into some spoilers. So yeah, spoiler-free first. This is what I'll say about it spoiler-free. I'm not a huge fan of period pieces, typically, especially early... Well, let me clarify. Early American period pieces, because in my opinion, a lot of times the period piece is not done accurately and like without biased.
Can you give me an example?
Man, that's a hard one. Frontier. You ever watch Jason Momoa's Frontier?
No.
Shoot.
It's okay.
Yeah, I can't think of one off the top of my head right now.
I may not have seen it, but if that helps.
But yeah, so it's just I don't want to get too deep into it because it's a whole like touchy subject in and of its own that would take up a long time to talk about and dissect. But it's just something that, like, when it comes to period pieces, I'm very skeptical and very critical of them. So this one is an early American period piece around the 1830s. It takes place involving West Point Academy and whatnot. And I didn't mind it, actually. Like, I thought it was actually done well. I thought the accuracy was there. The bias wasn't there, wasn't as much there. And it seemed like a true account of what would happen at the time. Yeah. Because this is a fictionalized story, right? Edgar Allan Poe, who is one of the main characters, is a real person. He was a real poet. He's a very, very famous poet. But in this movie, the story that takes place is not real. Yeah. And the character that Christian Bale plays, Mr. Landor, is not real. So not real in life. But so I did enjoy it despite all of that, and all of my reservations about period pieces. Yeah, so
that's good.
I enjoyed it. What about you? Did you enjoy the movie?
Yeah, I actually liked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Obviously is part of the reason why I recommended it for you to watch. Right. For me, it actually, it caught my eye as soon as it came out, and initially because Christian Bale, and then when I watched the short preview of it, I was like, oh, this actually seems pretty interesting.
I'm pretty much willing to watch anything that Christian Bale is in, especially at this point with his performance in this movie. Yeah. Like, the dude is unbelievable. So when you mentioned it, I had seen it. Like, I'd seen the cover. I knew of it on Netflix because I'd seen it when scrolling through Netflix. So I was aware of it. But I just didn't. I don't know. Like I said, I'm always skeptical. So, but since you recommended it, I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's do an episode about it. And I think that you guys are going to be interested in it because there's quite a few twists and turns in this story that takes place, and it's got a good mix of everything, of action, of character-driven story,
sure is.
Sadness, craziness, like nuts. People, like, it's got a good mix of quite a bit of stuff, and I think it's a lot better than
mystery crime solving.
Yeah, I think it's a lot better than what the online critic scores and stuff give it. Like, I think Rotten Tomatoes is like mid-60s, IMDb is 6.7, so I think it's a little bit better than it's getting credit for, especially when it comes to acting and performances and stuff like that. So. Hello, everybody. We kind of forgot to put our scores in when we were recording the first time, so we apologize for that. But I'm gonna give you my score, and my score for The Pale Blue Eye is an 8. And the reason why is because I enjoyed it. I had a good time. It was a little long, I think, but the the twists and turns and unexpected uh, events that happened were unexpected. It was unexpected. I wasn't I didn't see it coming, and for that reason, you know, I really enjoyed it. But there were a few things that we'll talk about in the spoilers that kind of just were a little off-putting to us. But it, you know, at the end of the day, it was still a good movie, still worth a watch. So if you guys haven't seen it, definitely recommend watching it. So now I'll turn it over to Taylor. Let him give you guys his score.
So I think I'm going to be giving The Pale Blue Eye an 8. I think Christian Bale and Harry Milling do an outstanding job as far as their performance in this movie. I enjoyed the mystery that revolves around it. I thought it was paced very well, and I thought it was just good overall. I don't think it stands out as being like super great, but I think it's a very good movie and might surprise a lot of people. So yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have not seen The Pale Blue Eye on Netflix, check it out. Give it a watch. I recommend watching it before diving into spoilers for us. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I recommend it.
It's a good watch. I will say it is over 2 hours long, so be prepared to, like don't put it on right before bed. Otherwise, you might be up a little later than you intended.
You're gonna do that anyways.
Yeah, let's be real. But yeah, it is slightly over 2 hours, so it is kind of on the longer side. But I do recommend it. So check it out, and then come back, finish out this video with us as we dive into some spoilers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your official
spoiler alert.
All right, spoilers. So we're just cutting people's hearts out now, huh?
Yeah.
Cut your heart out with the spoon. Why is spoon, cousin? You don't know what that is, right?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Free sticker to anybody that can tell me where that quote is from, what movie that's from. I'll tell you after, but yeah. So this, like I said, this movie is a period piece. It takes place in the early 1800s, and it revolves around West Point Academy and about a apparent suicide by hanging that happens, and then the real the real catch is that after the body was taken into the morgue or whatever, that his heart was carved out of his chest. So the leader or superintendent or whatever this dude's name is, or whatever his title is,
I think he's a colonel.
Yeah, I think that's his rank. I don't know if it's commandant or whatever, but he enlists
We'll just say commandant for the purpose of this.
Yeah, he enlists the services of a local guy named Mr. Landor, who is played by Christian Bale. And a question that I have real quick, because I think I just missed it. I think I was dealing with my son who was playing in the living room while I was watching the movie and whatnot. And I think I just missed the scene that explains this part. And I just want to clarify, but why did they go to Mr. Landor? Like, who is he within this world that would warrant them enlisting his services to find out why this dude's heart was carved out of his chest?
Yeah, so early on in the movie, they kind of explain that Landor is, like you said, he's a local. He's a detective that has been known to solve like very difficult cases in the past.
Okay. Yeah.
And he also has a kind of a reputation for himself as far as his personality and stuff. So that's like the
okay.
Like he's kind of like the guy to go to.
I think I missed that part, but throughout the rest of the movie, it's kind of implied, and I kind of like pick up on it as it goes. I just wanted to clarify, make sure that I did in fact miss it. So, yeah, he's this Sherlock Holmesy kind of guy that always seems to be kind of one step ahead of everybody else and be able to see things from a unique and different perspective. And we get into the story pretty quickly. I mean, it starts out as a apparent suicide followed by his heart being carved out, and then it turns into a murder because they find, like, when he goes and examines the body, he finds a whole bunch of like other things that the doctor never found, which I thought was funny.
Sucking at his job.
Yeah, the doctor is played by Toby Jones, who you guys probably know him from like Marvel as the evil doctor that worked for Red Skull, but he's in a lot of other stuff too. But he's the doctor in this movie, and he missed some stuff that would make you start to think ill intent versus just a straight up suicide. And then it, like I said, then it turns into this mystery, this murder mystery kind of thing. And then we get another victim, and then it turns into some crazy seance stuff, and then there's another twist at the end, and it's a roller coaster of emotions and stuff. But my first question to you is, at the beginning of it all, once we find out that they are suspecting murder, they are expecting foul play, who did you think was the culprit? Who did you think was the person that hung Leroy Fry?
Yeah. Initially, my suspicion was with the doctor himself, okay. Because while they're doing the autopsy and he's kind of explaining everything, to me, it's like, well, who else can do that but you? You're the surgeon.
Because they were talking about how when the heart was cut out, that it
avoided damaging like all the other organs and stuff around it, because it was like a very precise.
There was some skill level needed. He did say that you don't necessarily have to be a doctor or have to be a medical professional, but
right. I mean,
there had to be some
theoretically
knowledge.
Could do it,
right?
But it would be easy for a doctor who's practiced and an expert in that field.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, it must be you.
I had the same initial thought, but then I was like, that'd be too easy, because that would just be like you're just incriminating yourself, and then I feel like that's what they were trying to get you to think. And so I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna think the other way around. My initial thought was, there's a scene where Mr. Landor is interrogating or interviewing two different people. I think the first guy was Leroy Fry's old roommate.
Yeah.
And then the second guy was the last person to see Leroy Fry alive. I actually thought it was the second guy, the guy that was the last person to see Leroy Fry alive. The way that he was talking and responding, he just kind of seemed off to me.
Yeah.
So
he definitely was.
That's where my initial suspicions fell. But they do a really good job in this movie of making you kind of suspicious of everybody.
Right.
Like, they do a really good job of throughout the different scenes and the different things that happen to further the story. You're kind of like, wait a minute, now this guy's a little sus.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, there's quite a few times where I was like, hold on, wait, you're what? That's a little.
Yeah, which I love that about this movie.
Yeah, like there's even a time where, so eventually what ends up happening is Mr. Landor enlists the services and the help of Edgar Allan Poe. Because he's on the inside, he can use him as a inside man, and he does it quietly. Like, it's a quiet working relationship, and Poe is like trying to find out some information about people who might be interested in like dark magic and like dark stuff. And there's a scene where they're like all crowded around a cannon, and there's this dude in the background that keeps looking at them weird, and I was just like, now you're a little sus, man. Like, why are you looking at him like that,
everybody
dude?
That looks off, it's like, who are you?
It's like, get over here. Yeah. What are you doing, dude? Why are you looking a little funny over there? So yeah, there's a lot of parts where I'm just like, okay, now this person, I don't know. There's a lot of like my suspicions was shifting a lot throughout the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, same for me.
Quite a bit. But I will say that I did suspect one of the parties. I did make an accusation of one of the parties that was responsible for it pretty early on, and I'll talk about it. But let's get into the development between Mr. Landor and Edgar Allan Poe, because I think that relationship was pretty incredible to watch. So.
Yeah, for sure. Harry Melling does an amazing job as Cadet Poe.
Yeah.
Christian Bale, of course.
He's
phenomenal.
Christian Bale, man.
But their chemistry together worked very well. I loved it the whole time.
Yeah, they're very similar characters, right? They're very, very, very smart individuals. Like I said, they're able to look at things from a different, unique perspective. But on the other side of that, it ostracizes them from society. It kind of separates them and makes them different from everybody else. And it creates issues with them being able to assimilate into society. And Mr. Landor is a widower. His wife died, and then his daughter, they tell us that she ran away.
Yep.
And then Edgar Allan Poe, we find out later in the movie, has been bullied and assaulted a lot for various reasons that have to do with his aesthetics, as he calls it, but also just his demeanor and the things that he does. So they're very similar in that regard, and so because they have that shared experience and that shared qualities, their chemistry does work really, really well.
Yeah,
and it's really, really cool to see.
Yeah, and there are some pretty notable differences between them, but we don't really see that till like closer to the end.
Right.
And it gets, sad.
Yeah, very sad. There is actually a point where Edgar Allan Poe becomes the focus of the suspicion on who's going on, because Poe actually kind of interjects himself into the investigation. Like nobody like went and seeked him out because he was, thought that he would be able to help. He approached Mr. Landor. Was like, hey, you might want to take a look at this person. You might want to do this or look into that. And he would give him like tidbits of information. And then Landor eventually was like, all right, well, now you're just going to work for me and you're going to help me out with this.
Yeah.
So, but then the suspicion falls upon Poe, and there's this really incredible scene between them two sitting on a bench where you can feel the conflicting feelings within Mr. Landor of being like, I like you, like you're good, like I feel like we've created a friendship, but if I'm looking objectively at these facts, man, like you got to help me out here, dude. Like,
well, not only that, the fact that he lied to him.
Yeah, he did lie to him about never meeting Fry.
Yeah, which is a huge piece of information that he left out.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed that scene of them, of Poe opening up to Landor and being like, all right, this is why I did what I did. And then, that's when we find out that he had been bullied all his life and stuff. But, yeah. All right. Let's talk about the first kind of crazy stuff that happened. So we find out that Leroy Fry was murdered and his heart was cut out. And then there's a second victim that comes about maybe a third of the way through the movie, slightly over a third of the way through the movie. Same kind of MO. They found him hanging and his heart was cut out. There are some slight differences that we'll talk about, but the same kind of MO. So everybody's freaking out. It becomes this big thing. And the pressure starts getting put on Landor to figure out this situation, and everything. The story keeps coming back to this same group of people, right? Who are the what were their last names? I don't remember, but Artemis Marquis, yeah. The Marquis family, who was the doctor is the father, and then you meet the wife a little bit into the movie, who has a very interesting conversation with Mr. Landor.
Yeah, it's
kind of weird. She was like, your sacrifices are not lost on me, and she's talking about his dead wife and stuff. And I was just like, that's kind of a weird thing to say.
It's just weird.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just how people talked back then, which it may have been, but like I feel like that's still kind of weird.
Just weird.
Yeah, it was just.
I mean, we know by the end, but yeah, she's just a little weird.
Yeah, she's a little off. But they also have a daughter, Leia, who becomes romantically involved with Mr. Poe, and it's great because Poe is this guy that you begin to root for, right? Because he's an outsider. He's not he's not generally accepted, and so the idea or the prospect of love and finding a relationship is hard, and it's not something that you would expect for someone like that. So when him and this gorgeous, like, high status woman who has been sought after by all these other guys at the academy,
of course,
begins to show interest in Poe, it's cool because you're like, yes, like, good for you, man.
The good guy.
Yeah, like, root for you, bud. Good job. But she's sick.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of sad because it's like, man, you found somebody.
Finally found somebody, and they're dying.
Now she's gonna die. Like, she's dying. Which is where this story kind of takes a crazy turn. Yeah, it takes a crazy turn, and we find out that Leia and her brother Artemis, with the like help / approval of her parents, have decided that she's going to try and get rid of her sickness through non-traditional means, meaning like dark magic, seances, communicating with the dead and devil kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is an aspect of the movie that surprised me, but I actually kind of liked, or I did like the subtle, like, I'm not going to say horror because it wasn't horror, but just the subtle, like, darkness of the movie. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of like moments and portions of the movie where it's not scary, but it's a little suspenseful, and there's like little things that happen that make you think like, oh, is this headed in kind of like a scary direction? But it doesn't, and I like that it walks that line because it gives you just a taste of it, but it doesn't like go full head on into that genre. And I like that. I don't know. How did you feel about that?
I mean, I enjoyed it as well. It's not scary. Like,
no, it's not. I'm not saying it's scary, but
Yeah.
like I said, there's moments that like just kind of like the moment when Poe is like going back to his barracks and the captain dude or whatever, this guy, like, pops up in the hallway and is like, "What are you doing out here?" Like,
Yeah.
like I didn't jump that hard, but I was just like, "Whoa."
Yeah, I mean, it is a jump scare, but it's like a pretty minor one.
No, but it's just like there's little things like that. I'm like, all right, are we headed in the direction of this scary stuff? Because that's not what I was expecting for this. But I like that it walked the line, and then it added in this devil stuff that she was chasing after immortality. And what did you think about the background of that portion, like of them going to meet the Pepe, the book guy, and talking about all that stuff?
I thought it was really good. It just, when he had his friend, right, with the books and stuff, I liked it just because it added a level of detail just enough for you to like grasp that idea that they're trying to do, but it wasn't so like they didn't overuse it to the point where it like just becomes I don't know, like super in your face, I guess. And like you said, it's just kind of, it's there. It's not like super over the top. It's just the right amount where it's like a little bit extra dark and like weird and creepy and stuff, but it's not just like full on demonic level stuff,
Yeah, no, you're right. So we eventually, the first like big reveal that we get in this case or in this story is that Leia and Artemis are harvesting the hearts of hanged men to try and make Leia live, right? Get rid of her sickness that she's suffering from. And so there's a scene where they're having like a seance, and because of the romantic involvement between Leia and Poe, she tricks Poe into like being her last victim, basically.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll do anything for you. She's like, anything?
Yeah, near the end is where I kind of had a problem with Poe.
Yeah.
It's completely like contradictory of his character throughout the entire movie.
Hey man, love does crazy things, bro.
I don't know about that crazy. Like,
yeah, it turns him from
I understand what they're going for, but it's like for this character to do that is kind of a stretch.
Yeah.
Like, in order to make it believable for me would be to be adding more of the dark magic stuff. Like if she put a spell on him or something, okay, that's your like thing that you can use to cover it up. But the fact that it was literally just like, please do this for me, like you just gotta understand, don't you love me? And it's like, okay, what? This is stupid.
It's kind of yeah, I don't know. It's kind of believable to a certain extent. I think because what happened was she like she's a really good pianist. She plays the piano exceptionally well, and that's her thing. And so she plays the piano, and then Poe's like, I just want you to know I'd do anything for you. And then she's like, anything for me? And then the next scene is him like strapped to a table in the basement of the ice house. Pretty sure they cut his wrist open to bleed out, or that they needed his blood, and they started their ritual or whatever. And the whole time Poe is like in and out of consciousness, and he's very loopy. So what I think happened is she used his love for her as a lure to get him to not being paying attention, and then the brother or her like knocked him out. Then they take him to the ice house, they cut open his wrist, and they start to bleed him. And then when you are low on blood, you get loopy and, you know, whatever. And that's why he wasn't able to like fight back or do anything about it. But yeah, I think that's like the logical aspect of what happened. But they made it seem like he was just like, yeah, sure.
See, that's the thing.
Take my heart because I love you.
We don't see that.
Yeah.
All we see is the jump from him saying, I'll do anything for you too. I'm strapped to this table about to get my heart cut out.
Yeah.
Like, what? How did you get there?
It was weird. I guess you could make a case that like, because he's such an outsider and the thought of being loved by or being shown interest by such an exceptional high, you know,
I get it, but that doesn't mean that if you were like, hey, since you like me, can I cut your heart out? Like that's that's a bit much.
Yeah, I'd be like, so no,
as long as there was something, in between that point to explain it would have helped. But because there isn't, it's like, well, okay. I just gotta kind of gloss over that, I guess. Yeah.
One thing that I did not question, but same along the lines of is that while they're starting this seance thing in the basement of the ice house, Mr. Landor has figured out through going back to Pepe and looking at the books and stuff that the Marquis family is a descendant of this person that is, you know, whatever. So he goes back to the Marquis household and is talking to the doctor, and, you know, this is where the reveal is that the whole family is in on it. The doctor is aware of what's happening, but he's choosing not to do anything about it because, you know, it's his daughter, this and that, whatever. He goes on to say, like, I couldn't heal her myself through my own practice, my own art. So, like, I just let her kind of figure out what she could do outside of that. But there's also another jump where they realize that Leia and Artemis are not in the house. And then the Landor also realizes that Poe's coat is in the hallway, but Poe isn't here.
Right.
And so he's like, all right, where are they? And he like walks out of the house.
Where is he?
He walks out of the house screaming, where's your family? And then he just shows up at the ice house.
Yeah.
Just in time to stop Poe from dying. It's just like, I know you found the evidence of the seance or the you know, the candles and stuff in the ice house before, but like that was just the first place you decided to go look.
Yeah. I can't remember if there was like a small thing before
No,
that?
there's not. In between him walking out of the house and him showing up at the seance, there's nothing. But you don't see anything of Mr. Landor. He just shows up. Oh. So I was just like, huh, you just knew exactly where to go, huh, bud?
Well, it's not.
You chose right this time.
I mean, it's not really that unusual. He literally, like, not only did they find that particular spot, but he could already tell that it was a ritualistic thing.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a ritual, you do this all the time, which means you're going to come back to this place and you're going to have the exact same like candles or whatever, lights true. And all that kind of stuff. So you know it's a like thing that you're going to repeatedly do.
Yeah.
So his first guess could be that ice house because he knows that's the particular
I just want to know how he got there so fast.
Oh, I don't know.
Dude's like Super Saiyan running, just
he's Batman, dude.
Yeah, because like we didn't see a single horse in this movie, which kind of sucks. I like horses.
Yeah,
he's Batman. That took a second to register in my head. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it was just a thought I had while I was watching. I was like, huh. Yeah. You guessed right.
So easier for me to accept that.
To swallow. Yeah.
A little bit. But yeah, it is another.
So he ends up foiling the seance, right? He saves Poe. In the process, for some reason, Leia knocks over this table and she like nobody even touched her. She just like knocked over the table. She's like, ah!
She just freaks out.
Knocked over the table.
Lantern.
And then the candle starts lighting the building on fire. So now the building's on fire and it's an old ass ice house. So it's not in good condition. And the building starts to collapse. So he gets the mother who was there and as well as Poe out. And the brother and Leia end up dying in the fire.
Yeah, I thought it was funny because it's like, I know you're trying to finish because the mom's like, just finish the ritual. It's like, dude, that building is gonna collapse on you. You don't want to like speed this up a little bit.
It's like you don't want to like take this outside real quick, or just grab the candles, take it outside. We could restart outside.
Paraphrase, like
hurry up.
But yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. And then like she gets like hit by like something. Yeah. So she collapses and the brother like runs to save her.
My sister.
Yeah, my sister. And then the whole thing just smashes them. It's like, well.
Yeah. I know it's supposed to be a dramatization and it's like a dramatic story, and I have two sisters, but if I'm in a burning building and my sister like gets hit by something, like I'm not gonna walk over,
like clearly pinned by something,
like dead, like she's probably dead.
Yeah,
like I'm not gonna walk over and cradle her and be like, "Oh my god, my sister, I love you." Like I'm either getting the hell out or I'm gonna just grab you and drag you out, and at least we have your body. But I'm not gonna go over there and sit on the ground and scream at God like, "Why did you take my?" Like, I don't know. I know it's supposed to be a dramatization, but it's like, bro, like you killed yourself, man. Like you had a lot of time to get out.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of like factors, right? It's like you don't like I understand why he might be sad, but it's like you guys are crazy.
Yeah.
You don't really care if you die. In fact, you should have died, and you did.
And you did, which is great.
And yeah, so nothing went wrong. Like,
yeah. So after that happens, they finally have an answer to who carved the heart out of the victims, and why all this craziness was happening, and it was wrapped up. Right, we thought it was wrapped up. The two main perpetrators were taken care of. They're no longer. The father resigned from the school. The mother is just crazy. So nobody's gonna listen to her anymore or whatever. I don't know, but
I do think it was weird that the parents were not
like
charged as well, because you absolutely would.
In today's world, they'd definitely be accessories to the crimes, but I don't know. Maybe it's just different back then.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. It's just I was like,
weird.
I would throw you all.
Yeah, I'd hang you all, but all right.
Because they all would definitely were accomplices.
Yeah. So that was what we thought was the end of the story. We thought that was it. And it was a good story. Like I was like, all right, cool. Like
if it had finished there, it would have been good.
It still would have been all right. I'm like, all right, that's And to be honest, I suspected Leia from. There's a scene where she was like playing the piano or something, and then she like started coughing, and then they were talking about like how she's sick and but she wasn't supposed to last this long, or whatever. And I was like, huh, that's kind of sus.
I mean, it happens, but yeah,
just
like you said, there's a lot of things that's like, huh, convenient.
And I did tell my wife and my sister that were watching the movie with me. I was like, all right, I think Leia is carving the hearts out because she's trying to because she's doing seances and she's trying to survive. Like she's trying to live longer than she's supposed to. So I got that part of it right. But what we find out is that they never actually killed anybody. So Leia and the brother never actually killed Leroy Fry, the original victim, and they never killed Ballinger, the second victim. Yeah. They just mutilated the body and harvested the heart, which is crazy and nuts in and of itself. But
that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. But they never actually killed anybody. We find out that the person that killed the two guys was actually none other than the man himself, Mr. Landor. And it turned out to be this story turned out to be a revenge story, a retribution story.
All comes back to vengeance.
So we talked about earlier in the episode that Mr. Landor had a wife who died. He was a widower, and his daughter ran away. Come to find out, his daughter didn't run away. She ran off a cliff because she...
Oh, yeah, she ran away.
Yeah, off a cliff. So she was unfortunately raped by a bunch of West Point, or by a group of West Point cadets. She went to the West Point ball because they live in the area. So she went to the West Point ball, and on her way home, she was raped by West Point cadets. She came home. She couldn't deal with the trauma that had happened, and Landor wasn't able to help her. Her mom wasn't around because her mom died. It ended up with her deciding to take her own life. And so she did. And the saddest part about it is she did it right in front of Landor. Like that was really heart-wrenching for me. I was like, oh my God. Like it's one thing for your kid to commit suicide, and it's another thing for that to happen right in front of you.
Yeah.
Like he was standing there and she was like, I'll be okay. I love you. And I was like, oh, damn. No wonder you killed those dudes. But yeah, so the group of guys that she was raped by ended up being Leroy Fry, Ballinger, and then the other kid Studdard, I think is his last name. Julius is the first name. I know the first name is Julius, but he's the guy that ran away and they thought was missing, but is suspected to have run away. And so the story in the end was half about crazy seances and trying to perpetuate this girl's life, but also about the fact that Mr. Landor killed Leroy Fry and then was asked to investigate his death. Yeah. And so it was like a perfect cover-up. It was just the perfect opportunity.
Perfect opportunity.
Yeah. And it just so happened that two crazy stories converged at the same time to provide this perfect cover-up for Mr. Landor. And it's a very emotional scene between Poe, who figures it out.
Right, because at the end, he's like, there's something that Landor had told him.
Yeah.
He's like, it really stuck with me. And then he was like, I couldn't quite figure out or connect these two things until now.
Well, then he had the two notes, right? He had the sliver of a note that was found in Leroy Fry's hand, and then he had the note that Landor wrote, and he's like, this handwriting is the same. So why were you the one that wrote this note? And then it just led him on this tangent of figuring out that he killed those two boys.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. super sad, super emotional. And in the end, Mr. Landor was like, you know what? Like, I was going to deliver myself all along. Like, you're the guy that I wanted to figure this all out and do with it what you want. Like, if you want to go and tell the authorities and have me arrested or whatever, like, go ahead. Like, I'm not going to fight you on it. I totally understand. He knew what he did was wrong, but he wanted to do it anyway. In the end, Poe ends up burning the 2 notes that he has, destroying the hard evidence that would connect him to the murders, and basically, like, he basically was like, I'm done with you. Like, we're no longer friends. We're no longer associated, but I'm not gonna turn you in. Yeah, which was pretty nuts. It's just a very sad story.
Yeah, it ends up being very sad.
Yeah, very sad story. And I feel bad.
Because whenever they're, like, having the conversation, like, they both, like, play out the emotions so well.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I could feel it.
Like Poe was crying but yelling at the same time. It's just, it was so real. Like, it felt real to me. I was like, oh man. Like, I can kind of identify with Landor. It's like, man, like, if somebody raped my daughter, I'd probably kill him too. Like, I probably would kill him too. So I can kind of identify, but at the same time, you know, murder is wrong. Killing people is wrong. You know, trying to do the right thing on Poe's end. So
yeah, because I do like the part where they're talking and it's like, you had all the evidence. Why didn't you just have them arrested? He's like, oh, I didn't want them arrested. I want them dead.
Dead. Yeah. Yeah, that was a very heavy line. Yeah, it's like I feel you. I feel you on that. All right, to finish out this episode, I got one final question for you. Did he jump?
Landor?
Yeah. So we kind of have ladies and gentlemen, for those who haven't seen it, we kind of have a Inception ending.
Yeah, it's a little.
Yeah, Christian Bale walks to the same cliff that his daughter jumped off and fell to her untimely death, and he has a ribbon or something that he remembers his daughter. He remembers his daughter by, and he lets it go while he's standing on the edge of the cliff. And he lets it go, and he's like, "Be free," or "Be at rest," or whatever. And then the movie ends. So my question is, did he jump?
Like, my opinion?
Yeah. No?
For me, the symbolism of him letting go of his daughter's ribbon was him accepting that she's gone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he jumped either. I don't think he jumped. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did too.
Well, yeah.
At that point, it's like everybody that's involved with the
you walk all over the edge. Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised. Another really cold line that I loved was when Poe is talking about everything that happened. He was like, "But Julius got away. He's the one that ran." And then Landor was like, "I'm an old man. I have neither the energy or the strength to chase after him. Yeah. But I will take comfort in knowing that he will look over his shoulder for the rest of his miserable life." I was like, "That's cold, bro.
Yeah, I love
that's that. Awesome."
Yeah. I really like when movies have that kind of feeling to them.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I mean, it's kind of a crazy ride of emotion, craziness, sadness, cool stuff. It was fun. It was a fun ride. I enjoyed it. It was a good story, told well. Acting was incredible. Christian Bale did amazing. Harry Medlin did amazing.
Yeah,
he killed it. So, yeah, let us know what you guys thought down in the comments below. I'm curious to know, do you guys think that he jumped off the cliff at the end of the movie, or do you think he's still alive? Let us know what your guys' prediction is down in the description or comments below. I don't think there's going to be a second one. I don't think there's going to be a sequel. It's not really set up for it. But yeah, I'm curious to know what you guys' thoughts are. We appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for all the love and support. Please like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend. Check out our social media links down in the description below, as well as the other shows on the channel. We'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye, guys.